Vishwam Nimeshadirvatsaranto Mahiyam Tam Teshanam Śrīmad Prapadye Yoyam Kalas Tasya Te Vyakta Bandho Krishna Mahuchishtate Yena Vishwam Nimeshadirvatsaranto Mahiyam Tam Teshanam Śrīmad Prapadye Yoyam Kalas Tasya Te Vyakta Bandho Krishna Mahuchishtate Yena Vishwam Nimeshadirvatsaranto Mahiyam Tam Teshanam Śrīmad Prapadye Yaha, that which I am, this Kala, time, minutes, hours, seconds. Tasya, of him. Te, of you. Avyakta Bandho, O my Lord, you are the inaugurator of the unmanifested, the original Mahat Tattva or Prakriti, Cheshtam, attempt or pastimes. Ahu, it is said, Cheshtate, works. Yena, by which. Vishwam, the entire creation. Nimesha Adi, beginning with minute parts of time. Vatsara Anta, up to the limit of a year. Mahiyan, powerful. Tam, unto your lordship. Tva Ishanam, unto you, the supreme controller. Kshema Dhama, the reservoir of all auspiciousness. Prapadye, I offer full surrender. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. O inaugurator of the material energy, this wonderful creation works under the control of powerful time, which is divided into seconds, minutes, hours, and years. This element of time, which extends for many millions of years, is but another form of Lord Vishnu. For your pastimes, you act as the controller of time, but you are the reservoir of all good fortune. Let me offer my full surrender unto your lordship. Purport. As stated in Brahma Samhita 552, Yachakshuresha savita sakala grahanam raja samasta suramurti rashesha tejaha Yasyagyaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. Although we see the cosmic manifestation as gigantic and wonderful, it is within the limitations of Kala, the time factor. The time factor is also controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Prakriti, the cosmic manifestation, is under the control of time. Indeed, everything is under the control of time, and time is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Supreme Lord has no fear of the onslaughts of time. Time is estimated according to the movements of the sun, Savita. Every minute, every second, every day, every night, every month, and every year is of time can be calculated according to the sun's movements. But the sun is not independent, for it is under the time's control. Brahmati sambrita kala chakraha. The sun moves within the kala chakra, the orbit of time. The sun is under the control of time, and time is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord has no fear of time. The Lord is addressed here as Avyakta Bandhu, or the inaugurator of the movements of entire cosmic manifestation. Sometimes the cosmic manifestation is compared to a potter's wheel. When a potter's wheel is spinning, who has set it in motion? It is the potter, of course. Although sometimes we can see only the motion of the wheel and cannot see the potter himself. Therefore, the Lord, who is behind the motion of the cosmos, is called Avyakta Bandhu. Everything is within the limits of time, but time moves under the direction of the Lord, who is therefore not within time's limit. It's the end of purport. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here in this chapter, the birth of Lord Krishna has appeared from the womb of Devaki. And now we are hearing these prayers. So this particular prayer in text 26 is by who? Mother Devaki. Vasudeva was glorifying Krishna up to verse number 23, and then from 24 onwards it's Shri Devaki Uvacha. So as we have heard from different speakers that we are hearing about two different moods of Devaki and Vasudeva. One mood is that they think the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Controller, and one mood is saturated. That mood is saturated with Vatsalya Bhava, parental love, and they think that their child is their son and is dependent on their protection. So these two moods are there. So today's prayer, text number 26, is in the mood Devaki, that the Supreme Lord has appeared and she is glorifying the Supreme Lord. So this glory of Supreme Lord can be done in different ways. In all different moods, the glory of the Lord can continue. So it doesn't matter if it's Dasya Bhava or Vatsalya Bhava. The main thing is to glorify or talk about Krishna. So this is called Krishna Katha. In the spiritual world, this Krishna Katha is going on forever and it will continue. So in Vaikuntha, they have Dasya Bhava predominantly, and they are glorifying the Supreme Lord, that He is the Supreme Controller, supremely powerful, and so on. And in Vrindavan, it's, higher rasas like Madhurya, Vatsalya, Sakhya, they are very prominent. And still they are talking about Krishna and glorifying His various attributes. So this glorifying Krishna is the main thing. And this is the difference between conditioned souls and liberated souls. So liberated souls are always glorifying Krishna. Doesn't matter which mood they are exhibiting. Doesn't matter actually. Main thing is the connection to Krishna and glorification of Krishna. So you see when Devaki and Vasudeva, they change their modes, but the glory continues in one way or the other. So somehow or other we have to practice that glorification of Krishna and hearing of the glory. So that's what's happening right now. I'm practicing glorifying Krishna, and the audience is practicing hearing the glory of Krishna. So somehow or other we have to come to that level. So how does that begin for conditioned souls? It can happen in three ways. One is out of fear, or out of duty, or out of some sentiment. And it doesn't matter how it starts. Somehow or other it should start. So out of fear, sometimes conditioned souls, not sometimes, they are always trying to enjoy. And as Prahlad Maharaj says, until you start planning for enjoyment, your misery actually doesn't begin. Or in other words, Prahlad Maharaj says, as soon as you start planning for material happiness, your misery begins. As soon as you plan, not even start attempting, just start planning. As soon as you start planning for material happiness, your material distress begins at that time, in the planning stage. And then, in further stages of attempting to enjoy and then getting frustrated by not getting full satisfaction, misery just increases to different levels. So conditioned souls are trying for happiness but getting misery. And then sometimes, if they are fortunate, they come across the knowledge of law of karma, and they become little fearful. Oh, this law of karma is there. If I do bad things will happen to me in future, and I have some experience of bad things happening to me and my near and dear ones. So let me surrender to a supreme power. So out of fear, someone may approach the Supreme Lord, which is good in the beginning. And then someone who is little on a higher level, they may approach the Supreme Lord out of duty, that, oh, I'm a human being, and what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to surrender, as here also it says, unconditionally, kshema dhama prapadye, I surrender unto your lordship fully. So people out of duty, they start that surrender slowly. So that's also good. They approach the Supreme Lord out of duty. And then sometimes people who are born in the pious land of India, they have, because of that pious birth, they may have some sentiment, and out of that sentiment they may surrender or glorify the Lord, or come in touch with glorification of Lord. So that sentiment should not be taken as the ultimate mood of bhakti. It's just a semblance. It's just a small hint of pure devotional service, pure devotional mood. So due to piety, someone may get that small sentiment towards Supreme Lord. That's why in India you see everywhere there are temples, even of demigods and of Supreme Lord. So people out of sentiment, they go there. So that sentiment can be the beginning, but that's not the end. It's just a start. So they need to develop knowledge of the Supreme, and then that sentiment will slowly mature into pure devotional bhava or mood. So in different ways, people approach the Supreme Lord and glorification of Supreme Lord, and they become purified because they have approached the Supreme Lord. And the God is all good. He doesn't see what your situation is. If you come in touch with the Supreme Lord, you will become purified. Just the example of the sun. If your body is feeling cold and you come in touch with sun, if you have been in a freezing cold room and you come out and there is sun, so it may take few minutes for your body to warm up, but it will eventually. If you stay in the heat of the sun or the rays of the sun. So in the same way, we have been so cold by not contacting Krishna or glorification of Krishna for so many lifetimes. So now we have come in touch with Krishna. But still, we are not feeling the full warmth of prema bhakti. But it will just take time. If we just stay in that heat of devotional service, somehow or the other. So eventually, we will catch up with the pure devotional service. Otherwise, what options do we have if we don't try for this seemingly unreachable goal of pure devotional service? What other options do we have? There are no options. There is only one option. No S there. What is that one option? That we try for sense gratification. And the leaders, so-called leaders of today, they encourage that. For one reason is why they encourage sense gratification, because they don't know anything better. And another reason why they encourage mass sense gratification is to hide their sense gratification. So that's the problem. So in our new Bhakti Vaibhava group, we gave a writing assignment, and the topic was, Kali Yuga is very bad for the human being. That was the topic. And that's the beginning of one of the purports in first chapter of Bhagavatam. Prabhupada writes that Kali Yuga is very bad for the human being. So students were submitting different writing, they were just free writing inspired by Burijan Prabhu. He encourages free writing. Just put your thoughts on the paper. Whatever comes to your mind, you just write for a few minutes and see what comes. So students were sharing, and I was reading, it was so amazing. So one devotee, he said, the Kali Yuga is, main character is bad leaders. If you remember from the first canto, when Parikshit Maharaj came in touch with this personification of Kali Yuga. So who was that? He was a Shudra, very dark-looking Shudra, but dressed as a king or a leader. So that's the main characteristic of Kali Yuga, that unqualified people, sinful people are dressed as leaders and acting as leaders. And it's very bad. So if we feel very protected in such an environment, so we are also affected by Kali Yuga. That is the proof that we are also affected. So if at all we knew how bad the leaders are and what's going on right now, actually as devotees, you don't need to watch too much news. We should know basics, but not spend too much time. In 5-10 minutes a day, you can know everything what's going on currently in the world. But the nature of current affairs is the same. For example, if you don't, like I do sometimes, like for many days or weeks, or sometimes I don't get time or get busy with some services or something, I, don't look at news. And then you go back after a few weeks, or even some devotees go back to the current news after a few months. It's the same thing. The war is happening, exploitation is happening, right? Those 5 weak categories of people, they are being exploited. Women are being exploited. Children are being exploited, which means human trafficking. And then cows are being slaughtered. Old people are being ripped of their lifetime savings by different scams. And there is no Brahmanical education, or those who are trying to be Brahmanical, they are suppressed. So this is the current news. It's just different names, you give different names, but in essence, that's what's happening. So of course we should know currently what's going on, where we stay, and in the world. But this is what's happening. Bad leaders exploiting people. And how they exploit them is by trying to give you a seemingly good form of government. And they do surveys, which is the country where this form of government, which is very glorious, it's called democracy. Democracy, it's very glorious. So which country they rate, oh, this country, democracy is on the bottom, which means very bad situation. And the countries where there is free trade and voting system, that is considered to be more liberal and open and glorious. So this is the current mindset or current narrative. And we get fooled by this. And the bad leaders try to take advantage, and they increase their sense gratification. And then every time and every now and then, what happens is these leaders are exposed. You know, and that's what was happening recently. If you watch the news, don't need to go in the detail, but then, oh, these leaders have been doing nasty things, you know, and, you know, one of the leader, prestigious person is caught, and yes, we want to know more. What are these other leaders have been doing? So people, you know, people say, the current populace, yes, we want to know. And yes, no one is above this law. We can catch them, these leaders, how they were exploiting us. And then these leaders say, okay, so what's wrong with these people? We provided them sense gratification, and then they are turning against us. They, you know, now we will take retribution. They need to be killed. And their servants say, okay, who needs to be killed? Everyone. Just throw the bombs everywhere, and everyone. And then these people who were trying to know the reality, so-called reality, oh yes, what's the reality of these corrupt leaders, tell us. Then they are distracted by this war. Oh, there is almost a world war happening, and they forget about the leaders. So one distraction after another is created by these so-called modern leaders to distract us from the main goal of human life, which is self-realization. So that's why Prabhupada wrote that very boldly in his purport. Kali Yuga is dangerous for the human being. And that danger is by the leaders who we elect. So people are so untrained in real knowledge, they think we have power. What is the power? We can vote. We can vote, which means we have power. So previously they were saying, oh, these countries don't, women cannot vote. And in previously when there was Vietnam War and all, the young people couldn't vote. So they were saying, oh, we are suppressed, we don't have any say. We should be given this power to vote, and then world will be properly organized because we will have some say. So now everyone has a voting power. Has the situation improved? So that's the question. Situation will never improve because this way or that way we are taking shelter of material energy and sense gratification. So how will the world situation improve if we take shelter of material energy? So that's why as devotees we try to purify our surrender. Rather than surrendering to material energy and material leaders, we surrender to real leaders, the spiritualists, devotees, gurus, and Krishna. So we take shelter of them. So slowly we have to change our shelter. And it's a big change. So while the change is happening for devotees practicing sadhana sadhana bhakti, this is what's happening. We are changing our shelter. Total materialists are fully taking shelter of material energy. Pure devotees are fully taking shelter of spiritual energy. Practicing devotees, sadhakas, are in the situation of shifting the surrender. So that's a painful process, but we have to go through that. Sometimes there will be doubts. Oh, is Krishna the supreme, or are these devotees fully pure? Or some devotees have done this in past or present. So maybe this process is not that good. So these doubts will remain in the beginning. But if we continue this bhakti process, then what will happen? Vidyate hridaya grantis kshiyante. How does that verse start? No, that particular verse. Kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishware. So all the doubts will be smashed, the karmic reactions will go away, and everything will become clear, and you will be able to see that Krishna, you will be able to see Krishna face to face, that yes, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those who glorify the Supreme Lord are my friends, they are devotees. So then we will have firm faith in that. So faith is like, it's a graph. One time in one lecture, we invited Kadam Kanan Maharaj when Gopandesh Prabhu, Nanmadir Prabhu, they started preaching program in La Trobe University long time back. So one time I think Prabhu was away in India, and then Kadam Kanan Maharaj was here. So I was there, and Maharaj gave a nice class at the university. So he made a graph on the board of 9 processes of bhakti, starting from Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. So initially, the graph of Shraddha, first when we are not in touch with devotees, then we have little Shraddha, Komal Shraddha, and he grew the graph, just like a bar graph, just a line rising from the bottom. And then when Sadhu Sangha happens, association of devotees, so then there is the second line of Sadhu Sangha, and then the faith further increases. And then when Bhajan Kriya, devotional activities start, Sadhu Sangha increases and faith further increases. So like that, as we go forward from Nishtha to Ruchi to Asakti, faith increases more and more on this process. So initially, our faith is very weak. So that's why our devotional activities and devotional taste is up and down. Sometimes we feel up, sometimes down. Sometimes we are convinced with bhakti and devotees, and sometimes we have doubts, because faith is weak. So more we hear from those devotees who have firm faith, our faith increases. This is the only process. By hearing from those who have faith, our faith will increase in bhakti. So then, slowly and slowly, we can see that this is the perfect process, and we are moving towards selflessness. Otherwise, we are very selfish. I remember before coming to Australia and preparing for English test, we would read different books on English. So one vocabulary book started with different words, and the word roots, different roots, prefixes, suffixes. So one root was ego. Ego means I or me, and different words related to ego were there. Egoist, one who feels he is the center. And then egotist, who doesn't even feel, he also says so many things related to himself. And egocentric. And then when egocentrism increases more and more, it becomes egomania, madness. So that's what we are headed towards in this world with material association. Egomania, madness. Mania means madness. So with that sort of madness, these material designations increase and increase, and they trouble us. So we are in this material world and we take different designations. So how do we move towards the pure designation? Pure designation is we are servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. We are Krishna's marginal potency and we are Krishna's servant. So how to go there? There is an intermediary situation. From demoniac or Kali Yuga material designations, we have to move towards Vedic material designations, which is Varnashrama system. And then we can move to the pure designation, which is servant of Krishna, as Mahaprabhu says, Naham Viprona cha Narpatir. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, I am not a sannyasi, brahmachari. These are material designation, but Vedic material designation. So first we have to follow these designations as close as possible in Kali Yuga. It's called the Devi Varnashrama system. We take the principles from these Varnashrama roles and gender roles and try to follow as close as possible and as practical in Kali Yuga. It's not exactly possible to follow Vedic Varnashrama system in current day and age, but we take the principles and try to follow as much as possible. So then slowly we will move to this pure designation as a servant of Krishna. And that is where the fun begins. So now in the middle, in the situation when we are not fully materialists or we are not fully pure devotees, there will be some struggle. The fun really begins when we give up all these material designations, even Vedic material designations, which should not be given up prematurely. We have to very carefully follow these designations, Vedic designations of Varnashrama under guidance. So then if we do that, slowly and slowly, we will see that the joy of bhakti will begin. And as devotees, we are not egocentric. We want to glorify Krishna and Krishna's parts. So this is one of the main characteristics of a devotee. A devotee is always glorifying others. And it's called actually the overtime. If someone goes to a job, then they get the pay for whatever hours you do there or whatever amount of work you need to do. But then sometimes you do overtime to get extra pay, or after hours work, you get extra pay there. So for devotees, what is the overtime or after hours work? That is glorification of other devotees. You know, some devotees glorify others, they have birthday parties or even otherwise. You can glorify anytime, you know, no one will stop you. You can glorify others, you know. So this is a practice, mana dena. Tinadapi sunichena taro riva sarishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. These are the four very essential four parts of humility. One is to be as humble as grass, as tolerant as tree, second. And third is not expect honor from others. And fourth is always glorify others, give respect to others. So these four things are very important and very difficult to follow. So we have to practice these four. And there will be ample opportunity given, you know. So those who have perfected bhakti, they are naturally acting on that level. So that's why when we read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see these examples of devotees who are acting on that level. They are on full bliss program. They are always blissful. Doesn't matter what's happening with them. Like Haridas Thakur is being whipped in different marketplaces, but he doesn't feel that pain because he is fully absorbed in the holy name. He is Namacharya. But that example for us is there. That goal is given that we can also reach that level by practicing bhakti. So that gives us inspiration, motivation, and encouragement. So everyone needs some motivation. So what is the motivation for materialists? They are also rising every day, you know. Sometimes people say, what is the motivation to lift your head up from the pillow in the morning? What is the motivation? What motivates people to get up and act, work, do something? What is the motivation? Motivation is material sense gratification. And as we were speaking, the leaders promote that. You can enjoy more and more without restriction. In any way, we will encourage that, especially the sinful way. So there's no scarcity of liquor shops, meat is available everywhere. Each supermarket, wherever you go, it's there, Illicit relations are everywhere, flowing like water. And then gambling is made easy right on your mobile. You can access anytime. It's made more and more easy for you. This more barbaric sort of sense gratification. So they encourage this so that you are happy. You try to become happy like that. But that is not the goal. That takes you away from the human goal. So how will we get real happiness? Not by material sense gratification, but by engaging in bhakti. So one thing we were discussing with devotees was the glory of bhakti, this devotional service. So this process, if we somehow or the others, we take up to this process, it will purify us and it will give us bliss. In the invocation shlokas of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Sanatana Goswami glorifies different personalities. Vrindavan, he glorifies them as personalities. Mathura, Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he also glorifies Prema Bhakti. So how Sanatana Goswami glorifies Prema Bhakti is, he says, Prema Bhakti is being worshipped by liberation, mukti personified. Why? Because liberation realized, mukti personified realized that the lotus feet of bhakti comprises of the truths of Vedic knowledge. Because the Vedantists, they read, they study Vedanta, this knowledge, to become renounced and get liberated from this material world. But that mukti personified has realized that real knowledge is in the lotus feet of bhakti. So that's why liberation is worshipping bhakti. So that's how Sanatana Goswami glorifies this bhakti, prema bhakti. So prema bhakti, and it's very simply mentioned in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yen mam upyantite. So if you are engaged in this devotional service, it can be anything. Anything you do in this temple to serve Krishna, that is devotional service. It can be something very small. You can lift a mat and put it back there after the class. It's like there's not much effort in there. Even now, we are just sitting very comfortably. I'm speaking, you are hearing. There's not much physical effort in it. But this is devotional service, Shravanam, or anything else. If we do that, then that is there for our eternal credit. Neha Vikrama Nashosti. The credit is there eternally. But if we take up some regular service under guidance, then our devotional service goes to next level. And that's why Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam. If someone is always engaged in this serious devotional service, then what happens? I reveal everything from within the heart. So this devotional service, initially maybe the motivation, maybe fear or duty, consciousness. But the real motivation slowly and slowly becomes the pleasure of Krishna. Initially, we cannot have that motivation because we don't know Krishna. So how can we don't consider Krishna as a person. So how will we be motivated by pleasure of Krishna? We say, right, we hear, we should do everything for pleasure of Krishna. But we don't know much about Krishna initially in our practice stage of bhakti. So that's why we are hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam to know more about Krishna and get attracted to Krishna and then serve Krishna with priti or love. Meanwhile, we have the motivation is to satisfy Guru, spiritual master. Or even if someone is not initiated, then motivation is the person who helps you in Krishna consciousness. You know, we come to bhakti and because we become attracted to someone here. Initially, you know, we can become attracted to prasadam or a book or anything, you know, beautiful deities or kirtan. But then slowly That Shraddha brings sadhu sangha, and sadhu sangha means becoming attracted to one of the devotees. We all remember initially we became attracted to one devotee and they helped us and we loved that person. So that is the motivation for their pleasure, and slowly when we become serious in our devotional service, get initiated, then motivation becomes pleasure of the spiritual master. Then eventually, by mercy of spiritual master, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach, the creeper of bhakti becomes so strong that we can actually reach the lotus feet of Krishna. It's mentioned in one of the purports in that Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita that initially there is the small seed of bhakti, and then the small seedling sprouts, and then it becomes creeper, and the creeper grows in length or height and also thickness, and it becomes so strong that it is able to pierce through the shell of universe and go to Brahmajyoti, then Vaikuntha, and finally reach Goloka Vrindavan. And when does it stop growing? It stops growing when it reaches the lotus feet of Krishna and stays there perpetually. So this is how strong the Bhakti Lata becomes. It just grows and reaches Krishna Lok, pierces the thick shell. If you know from Bhagavatam how thick is the shell of the universe. There are 8 layers, each layer 10 times thicker than the previous one. So no one can pierce. It's there so that we are trapped within it. Just by bhakti we can pierce that shell of this universe and go to the highest planet. So that is there. In the beginning, motivation is to please devotees, then please Guru, and finally we please Krishna. And we realize that actually Guru and Krishna are non-different. Sakshat dharitvena samasta shastrer. So then we realize, oh, actually Guru is the transparent via media, is the representative of the Supreme Lord. In that sense, he is not different. So that's the motivation. So slowly we reach there. Otherwise, in material world, the motivation remains these sinful activities. As the saying is, all roads lead to Rome. So ultimately, behind every material endeavor, the motivation is sense gratification, right? They're making skyscrapers, making tunnels. This new tunnel has been made. I came from city to this Anzac station, if you know where that is. Domain, it used to be called Domain Interchange. At the end of this, Curford Road becomes Albert Road, right? And then when it meets St. Kilda Road, that's the junction. So it used to be called Domain Interchange. Now it's the Anzac train station. So I came from city to that station. They dug that tunnel so deep. Has anyone been in that tunnel? Not yet. You have been? It's so deep. If you go in the city new stations, it's so deep. So they make so much endeavor. And what is the motivation? Sense gratification. So that Rishabh Dev says very clearly, Pumsa striya mithuni bhava metam. So the attraction between male and female is making people dig these deep tunnels. Can you imagine? So that's what's happening. So that will remain our motivation for everything. So we have to change that motivation somehow or the other and come to this prema bhakti. And then the real joy starts. Su sukham kartum avyayam. So what is the test that our bhakti is maturing? We will start enjoying it more and more. Every aspect, not just prasadam or, not just one thing that we like. Everything, all aspects of bhakti, all devotees. We start seeing others' devotional service, how they are doing devotional service, rather than seeing their faults. Of course, it's like a hospital and we are not perfect. Practicing devotees are not perfect. They are trying to become perfect. They are on the perfect path. So more we see that and cooperate amongst each other, we can see we are going towards the same goal. So materialists also say all roads lead to Rome, so everything leads to sense gratification, and ultimately the result is war and chaos because the resources are limited. And devotees realize everything leads to Krishna, so while we are going there, if there are any difference of opinions, we shouldn't take that very seriously. We just continue our devotional service, somehow or the other, cooperate amongst ourselves and keep moving towards that goal. Because alone we cannot go. Jnana process you can do alone, Ashtanga yoga you have to do alone, but bhakti cannot be done alone. We need other devotees to make kirtan, to have discussions. We need other devotees. It's not a jnana process. You have all the books, lock yourself in the room and keep reading and go back to Godhead. But what will we do there if we practice such a sort of regime? We go there and then there are so many devotees. We have to face devotees. So it is a congregational process, Sankirtan Yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. There is some sacrifice. When we are with others, there is some sacrifice. So we have to do that in order to become purified. So here Devaki is glorifying Krishna who has appeared, and she's saying, you are above everything. You are the cause of all causes. And the time energy is mentioned. So there is Prakriti, which is considered the material cause of the creation of cosmos. Then there is time, which is also a functional cause. And then there is the Purusha, or the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, who is considered another cause. So these three causes are there of this material nature. But ultimately, Sarva Karana Karanam, Krishna's to Bhagavan, Ishvara Parma Krishna, Satchidanand Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karan Karanam. So these three causes are there of material energy, the time factor, Prakriti and the Purusha. But above all these three, there is Krishna, Sarva Karan Karanam. So that's what we have to realize, taking blessings from Mother Devaki. So I'd like to end there and see if you have any questions or comments or corrections on what we discussed. Hare Krishna, any microphone there? Oh.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. Prabhu, you were talking about our material designations. So when we practice devotional service, does that purify us, or do we have to voluntarily give up those upadhis and then we can advance in bhakti?
So that's what I was mentioning. We have to give up the Kali Yuga material designations and take seriously, as far as possible under guidance, the Vedic material designations, which is Varnashrama and gender roles. We take up those designations and follow the principles or the rules related to those designations as far as possible or practical in this day and age. And that requires a lot of guidance. For example, I'm a brahmachari. So there are rules. The standard Vedic brahmachari, it's mentioned in Bhagavatam, right? You wear what? Tree bark or something. So, and don't shave, have matted hair. So it's not practical. If you go out on books with tree bark and matted hair, it won't be very impressive or attractive. So according to the day and age, under guidance, we follow the rules for those material Vedic designations, and then eventually we become purified, and then we can act as servant of Krishna. And then we won't be affected by this service or that service. I like this service. It's like everything. As we were glorifying Prema Bhakti, as Sanatana Goswami was glorifying. Once we are on the pure platform, externally, of course, we follow the rules of the society, devotional society and materialistic society, because we are living in that society. So as far as follow externally, we follow. But under guidance, if we become purified, then it doesn't much matter like that. Does that answer? Any other questions or comments? Correction from Brahmakund Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, you're talking about faith, and then, how when we progress from Shraddha to Prema, the faith increases. But it just seems like, we just seem to have more faith in the material energy than in the words of Krishna or scriptures. So when we do, practice devotional life, faith increases, but also doubt increases, because we are not quite there, where we need to be, and then having more faith in the material energy, or leaders, could be country leaders, society leaders, community leaders, or even family leaders, and we see we're not really getting where we need to go spiritually. So many go back to the material energy, because at least there is some sense gratification or some achievements, we can fulfill our material desires, whatever struggle be for it. So how do you, how do we, help ourselves and others, because it just seems we have more faith in the material energy and the leaders.
Yes, so Prabhupada also thought about that, and he wrote that in his poem Makine Bhagavad Dharma, that these people are so much taking shelter of material energy and they have faith on material energy. How will I be able to help them? But then he asked that question, and he answered also that by hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, if I speak Śrīmad Bhāgavatam with pure intent and pure consciousness, that will bring the change. So the faith on material energy will change to faith on Krishna. So by hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, from those who have faith, our faith changes, it shifts. So this is the only way, and the way which is recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking shelter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So other Vaishnava-acharyas also, and the monists, they have focused on Vedanta Sutra like that. But Mahaprabhu's teachings were mainly based on the commentary of Vedanta Sutra by the author of Vedanta Sutra, that is Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So Mahaprabhu's teachings were based on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and he was able to change the faith of not only materialists, but also those who had strong faith on monism, like Prakashanand Saraswati, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, such strong people who had strong faith in the non-dualistic philosophy. Mahaprabhu, just by presenting this Bhagavad philosophy, he was able to change their faith. So this is the only thing. By hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, there will be a change in the heart. There is one chapter in 2nd canto, change of heart. So that is the process. So that's what I think. Is that okay? Thank you. Anand Vardhan Prabhu, some comment or correction?
Oh, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Very nice, wonderful. The way you transit, you brought us from that material energy to the spiritual energy side. In between you mentioned about the painful experience, like we still have to go through that painful transition. So what are the indicators that I'm moving in the right direction and that I'm getting some bliss, even though that bliss may be little in that transition? So what are some of these indicators, if you can highlight?
So yeah, indicators is, proof of the pudding is in eating. So you will feel from within, that verse tushti pushti, as Prabhu is saying. Bhakti pareshanubhava viraktir anyatra chaisha trikayeka kala. So this anubhav or this experience, you will get it first hand. And the example is given of eating. Like when you eat, you can yourself feel that my hunger is going away and I'm getting nutrition and power. Like for example, sometimes we feel very cold and as soon as we eat, the body heats up. So we can feel that. Hunger is going, body is getting some nutrition and strength as well as some pleasure from eating. So these three things we get, tushti, pushti, kshud. So the negative thing goes away, positive things increases. So we will feel that, oh, we are feeling happy. Very simple test. We feel happy in all devotional aspects, as I was mentioning, not only one particular. Eating prasad, associating with devotees, hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, reading Prabhupada's books, taking beautiful darshan, doing service, whatever is given to us by our authorities. So this is the test. More we like this and we feel that this is our life, then we can know that we are progressing. And if there is always moroseness, criticism, and negative thoughts, lusty thoughts, then there is some problem. These are the symptoms of the disease. Like if someone has COVID, that's the disease, and then what are the symptoms? Runny nose, fever, dizziness, so these symptoms. So like that. For material, if we are affected by Kali Yuga and materialism, so those are the symptoms. Fault finding, feeling morose, anger, frustration, like that. And then opposite, as I mentioned, liking all aspects of bhakti, loving devotees, loving to be with devotees, loving to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, to take darshan, like that.
Thank you. And can I ask one more question? Sure. You also mentioned about amanina manadina, like the four things, trinavadapi, sunichina. For myself, I'm asking, it's very hard to give man, especially to the person who is not giving man. So how do I overcome that?
So basically we can...
There is an expectation in the relationship over the period. There is still some expectation that, the treatment is reciprocal. So how I do overcome that?
Main thing, we have to focus on the process, not the persons involved. So process is giving respect. So if we take the rule as give the credit where credit is due. So if we have that in mind, we can see good quality, something good in everyone, not only devotees. And we can give credit for that. I make sure many times if I'm in the front of the tram and getting off, I say thank you to the driver. And I see most people don't. It's a very small thing, doesn't cost you anything. Of course, he's a meat-eater, karmic demon maybe. What goes out of my pocket if I say thank you, driver? It's a very small thing. But it changes the way we live, actually. So it doesn't matter if that's their job. If they are not giving respect to us, that's their problem, not our problem. Our problem is we are not giving respect to others. So we sort that out. Then by our associations, hopefully others will change also. But that's not the expectation. Point is to improve ourselves. So we keep giving respect and not expect respect from others. And then what others do, we hope they also do. If they don't, doesn't matter, doesn't bother our happiness or our position in bhakti. So, yeah.
Thank you. And sorry for following question. Now what about the one who I'm, let's say, cultivating? So if I, like a guru, if he starts giving too much respect to disciple, then the disciple may feel like he is equal to Guru. You know, like if you give, especially those who you are cultivating, if you give too much respect, then they may feel like equal, and then there is no learning, there is no teaching the flow.
Yeah, so according to the candidate, not like disproportional respect. According to the candidate, we give them respect. You know, if someone is very young or we are cultivating, there is a sort of respect there. As they say, you give respect, you get respect. But you respect them, like if there is a pigeon, okay, we respect this is a living entity, there is spirit, soul. So we don't just kick the pigeon, I get out of my way. We say, okay, you know. You know, sometimes a dog in India, you go, a dog is, you know, walking. So you give way. Of course, we are fearful that they don't bite. But there is some respect for all living entities in that sense. But according to the candidate, we give proportional respect like that. So they feel respected, but at the same time, they don't take it for granted and feel, oh, we are equal and pat on your back. So we keep that sort of respectful distance also. Yeah. So their respectability towards you is not compromised. So that's the expertise of mentors. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare. So something last, your comment, correction, Prabhu.
Thank you. Always so nice to hear from you, Prabhu. So, on the themes that you touched upon, the effects of Kali Yuga, time and glorification. So, there's a nice verse in the Padyavali. Aho aho bhirna kalir vidhuyate sudha sudhara madhuram pade pade dine dine chandanam chandra shitalam Yasho yashoda tanayasya giyate. Aho aho bhirna kalir viduyate. Just see how wonderful, how amazing this is, that the ill effects of Kali Yuga cannot contaminate those. Aho aho bhirna kalir viduyate. Sudha sudhara madhuram pade pade. Rather, instead of getting contaminated by Kali Yuga, these people, they taste sweet nectar, sweeter than the sweetest nectar. Sudha sudhara madhuram pade pade. At every step of their practice. Dine dine chandanam chandra shitalam. And every day they experience tranquility which is more soothing and calming than sandalwood and moonlight. By doing what is all this possible? Yasho yashoda tanayasya giyate. By glorifying and singing songs of the son of Mother Yashoda.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So Govind Hari Prabhu's beautiful verse singing, it's very popular. And you've been sharing these audio clips with me for a couple of decades now, right? Thank you for that. So we'll end here. Thank you very much. Granth Raj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.